The journey of the soul. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Pierre Terral de Chardin. The questions of who am I and why am I here are ones that many philosophers and religious spiritual leaders have been asking since the beginning of time. According to Socrates, the purpose of human life is for personal and spiritual growth. One of his famous quotes, "The unexamined life is not worth living," implies that people cannot come to understand their true nature unless they examine and contemplate their life. In exploring these questions, many possible answers have been offered by learned men and women. Only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. Albert Einstein. The purpose of human life is to serve and to show compassion and the will to help others. Albert Schweitzer. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Rumi. The main purpose of life is to live rightly, think rightly, act rightly. The soul must languish when we give all our thoughts to the body. Mahatma Gandhi. The choice that you, as a soul, have in relation to anything is always to be loving. Do you understand that this is the divine purpose that all of us as humans have been given? To love unconditionally? John Morton. The purpose of our lives is to be happy, and our prime purpose in this life is to help others. And if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. Dalai Lama. There is a divine purpose behind everything, and therefore a divine purpose in everything. Neil Donald Walsh. Your life is like a play with several acts. Some of the characters who enter have short roles to play, others much larger. Some are villains and others are good guys, but all of them are necessary. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the play. Embrace them all and move on to the next act. Wayne Dyer. Each of us decides to incarnate upon this planet at a certain point in time and space. We have chosen to come here to learn a particular lesson that will advance us upon our spiritual evolutionary pathway. Louise L. Hay. The Course in Miracles says one day you will realize that death is not the punishment but the reward. And it says that birth is not the beginning of life, but a continuation. And physical death is not the end of life, but a continuation. Mary Ann Williamson. Pierre Terral de Chardin, 1881 to 1955, was a French philosopher, paleontologist, and Jesuit priest who pondered what it means to be human and what relationship we have with God or the divine. It was his quote that began this chapter with the words, "We are spiritual beings having a human experience." If you are reading this book, it is likely that you too have been asking questions like, what does it mean to be a spiritual being having a human experience? Or, how does this relate to my existence on this planet? I believe de Chardin was saying that it's our spiritual essence or soul that is having this human experience. We have a spiritual essence that existed before we became human beings that is eternal. As we sit in silence, in meditation, in prayer, and sometimes in nature, we can reconnect with our spiritual essence or our soul to find the answers to the eternal questions of, who am I, and what is my life's purpose? The Random House College Dictionary provides the following definition of the soul. The principle of life, feeling, thought, and action in man, regarded as a distinct entity, separate from the body. The spiritual part of man as distinct from the physical part. The spiritual part of man regarded in its moral aspect, or as capable of surviving death, and subject to happiness or misery in a life to come. A disembodied spirit of a deceased person. The emotional part of man's nature. The seat of the feelings or sentiments. A human being, person. The animating principle. The essential element or part of something. Other online dictionaries have similar definitions. An entity, which is regarded as being the immortal or spiritual part of a person, and which, having no physical or material reality, is credited with the functions of thinking, willing, and choosing. The moral or emotional nature of a human being. The spirit of a dead person, thought of as separate from the body and leading an existence of its own. The explanation of the soul that best meets my understanding is described by Carolyn Myss. She is a well-known spiritual author of many spiritual books, such as Anatomy of the Spirit, Sacred Contracts, and Entering the Castle. She has made the study of the soul part of her life's work. As quoted from her book, Entering the Castle, Carolyn Myss provides a very thorough description. The soul has been described in beautiful metaphors throughout world literature. Dame Julian of Norwich, an English mystic, wrote that God opened her inner eye and showed her her soul in the middle of her heart, as large as an infinite world and like a blessed kingdom, a glorious city. Like Teresa of Avila, Dame Julian saw God within the center of her soul, which for us and for God is a place of peace and rest. Rumi saw the soul as having many aspects. In one poem, calling it a strange tree that sometimes grows an apple and sometimes a pumpkin, sometimes causing trouble and sometimes remedying it. He wrote that the soul can be like a honey bomb that restores our health or can be restless like a tiger. Sometimes the soul can help the heart grow a greater understanding, and sometimes it overturns everything we think we understand. The origins of the word soul may lie in the Middle English soul from the Old English soul or the Old High German Seele, which all hold that the soul is our non-physical essence. Its sacredness in connection to God is widely accepted by theologians as well as psychologists. Jung, for instance, wrote that the soul is an entity endowed with the consciousness of its relationship to deity. Yet, even with the help of poets and saints, it can be difficult to make your own soul real and to locate this inner source of divinity. All mystics agree that the mind and body are different from the soul, but the soul is often obscured by the clamor of our inner chaos, or doubts and fears. One thing that appears to be clear is that to recognize and communicate with the soul, we must go beyond the constant clamor of ego, beyond the tools of logic and reason, to the still, calm place within us, the realm of the soul. Deepak Chopra. Some New Age beliefs regarding reincarnation promote that the soul is divinely connected to God, and that each soul contains a divine spark of God, or seed of life. We are given free choice in our reincarnations to learn life lessons and to complete our soul's journey towards spiritual perfection as predetermined prior to rebirth. Some believe that these life lessons are learned with the help of other souls in the spiritual realm, who agree to help for the greatest good of mankind and for individual spiritual growth. These agreements or soul contracts are completed before reincarnation via consultations with ascended masters and saints, spirit guides, and spiritual helpers. With the help of your spiritual team of helpers, decisions are made regarding the soul's life lessons, and soul contracts are agreed to by your soul helpers. The decision would include selecting the proper time for rebirth, the appropriate environment and location, the type of parents, etc., to help make your soul lessons possible. These details are important based on the life lessons to be learned. For example, if I wish to learn how to forgive, I may need to reincarnate into a life situation where I'm abused or neglected physically or emotionally. My parents may need to be emotionally needy and or have acquired addictions to deal with their difficult or traumatic lives. Learning to forgive my upbringing and difficult life would be a major lesson to learn in this life journey. Or I could have a contract with a soul that needs to overcome a past karma with drug addiction, and I agree to be one of his parents with a specific set of characteristics needed to make this possible for him. And he would then be born 20 to 25 years after me as my son. The success or failure of the soul to achieve its life purpose will determine whether additional reincarnation is required once the body perishes, or whether the soul is free to ascend and be united with the source of all there is, or God. The Christian religions do not believe in reincarnation or karma, but believe that according to the Bible, atonement and forgiveness and a soul's salvation can be achieved only through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. As explained in the previous chapter, I was raised a Catholic and continue to practice as a Catholic to this day. However, I do not believe that the Catholic faith is better than any other religion. Religion to me is an organized way to express human love, compassion, and kindness in a faith community. It gives you a place to meet other like-minded people who believe in the simple rules of life as Jesus Christ and other spiritual leaders have taught us. After the Second Vatican Council opened the Catholic Church belief system, I decided to take what I believe to be real and worthwhile of the Catholic religion and to leave the rest behind. I do believe in Jesus Christ and that he lived and preached and that he died on the cross to teach us the way to live. I believe in Mary, the Mother of God, the Holy Spirit, the angels and saints, and much of the teachings in the Bible. But I also believe in many teachings of various Eastern religions, and those that do not conflict with my religious upbringing. I believe in reincarnation, as well as good and bad karma that affects present and future lives. I believe in the ability of a soul to practice Christ consciousness in their present life, and to achieve spiritual perfection or perfect self-realization in their present life for ascension, as have many risen masters, saints, and yogis. As explained above, ascension would be the end of the endless cycle of rebirths, and the soul would be free to ascend and be reunited with the source of all there is, whom going forward I will refer to as God or the Source. I believe that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience that is orchestrated and overseen by the divine. Each of us still have our free will or choice, and no matter what life choices we make, our journey will always move us towards our agreed-upon life lessons and our life purpose. I believe we are powerful beyond measure because we are a spark of God, and God is all-knowing, all-compassionate, all-forgiving, all-merciful, all-powerful, and kind. When we become aware that this is what and who we are, we become capable of achieving anything. We are so powerful that we create our own realities based on the thoughts we think. God gave humans the choice to perceive their current life experience as a burden or as a joy, to awake each day grateful for the good in their lives, or to be constantly seeking lack and limiting their full potential. I end this chapter with my poem that is on the following pages called The Soul's Journey. The Soul's Journey by Nancy Willett. I am love in every breath and every thought. I remember who I am now and why I am here. Throughout this life, we all have something to do, to open our eyes and recognize who we are meant to be, to love, to forgive, and create a way that shares who we are with all humanity. Be kind, compassionate, speak your truth. Just begin. Develop faith and courage within. With this faith and courage, take one step at a time, one truth of your heart. Let it guide you along. Trust who you are, a beautiful piece of God. Believe. Your faith will not lead you astray, but will reveal what your soul agreed to achieve during your lifetime before you take leave. When you are ready, your body will fade and your soul will fly free. You'll go home for a while to be reunited with all that God is once again. Your soul, family, and friends who went home before you will be there. You'll embrace in thought and word and act. You'll rest, regroup, prepare the next contract. When you are ready to go, your soul will fly free once again into a newborn, innocent and pure, with the new family whose teachings are prepared just for you. You'll be fresh and perfect just as you are, but will forget this and all that was planned until the new learnings and purpose concealed peeks out and the hidden truths are revealed. I am love in every breath and every thought. I remember who I am now and why I am here. I am love.